Jane Ferguson is a journalist. You just come back from spending a few days inside Syria. Jane, you were basically in Homs, is that right?
That's right. I was in Bab Amr, which is an area of Homs that's a stronghold for the resistance. That's a stronghold for the activists as well as the Free Syrian Army, those that have defected from the pro-Assad army.
Okay, so the stronghold, you say. How big? Can you give us an idea of scale and numbers of the people and the area?
Well, the activists were telling me there's around about 28,000 people in that area. That can't be confirmed at the minute. Of course, some people have left. Not that many have left, though. There are still a lot of civilians there. It's really a significant part of Homs city itself.
Just so you know, we're showing pictures. Did you shoot these pictures?
I did, yes.
So you can carry on talking, but these are the pictures we're showing.
Yeah, this is the area Bab Amr, which has experienced incredibly heavy shelling over the past 10 days, really, and 30 days as well. About a month ago, the offensive from the Assad regime really began here. What you can see here is us running away from snipers. The area is surrounded by Assad regime troops, and they've really positioned a lot of snipers in tall buildings around. Those snipers are firing at not only Free Syrian Army soldiers, but also civilians who have no choice but to try to go about their daily lives there.
Why would the snipers target civilians?
Well, the activists say this is really all part of an intimidation of the civilians. It's really a way to try to control what the Assad regime sees as a revolutionary area. So what they'll often do is they'll fire at anybody in the street. It's within their interests, say the activists, to keep people in a state of fear in these areas.
And do you know, or could you recognize or gauge the extent of support for the president? I mean, we talk a lot about the dissidents and the defectors. Does the president still enjoy a measure of support in that city or not?
Certainly not in these areas.
If it's, you know, if it's possible to say.
So definitely not in these areas. So it's impossible to say if you're only traveling around these areas. But the activists say that such areas cover up to over half of the city. As a journalist, though, it's absolutely impossible for me to go into a pro-Assad area because they're not freely allowing journalists in. So that becomes very, very difficult to gauge. But it's the same in any of these situations with the Arab Spring uprising, whether or not talking to people in the street is a realistic way to get real opinions whenever they're living under a regime like this.
You met the Free Syrian Army.
Yes.
What is this Free Syrian Army made up of? What are they attempting to do?
Well, to be fair, it's probably not fair to call them one Free Syrian Army. That's what they call themselves, but it's really a conglomerate of various elements that have defected. They're saying that they want to defend these areas where the protests all began and where the anti-Assad demonstrations are. They themselves are holding the ground. If they weren't there, the Assad regime would be able to come in with their tanks. What we saw a few days ago was that they did try. They brought a number of tanks to the outside of the area because they have it surrounded. And basically the Free Syrian Army have set up checkpoints around it so that they can try to protect the area. Now, when I spoke with them and asked them about their intentions in the future, whether they're politically or in terms of the future state of Syria, should the Assad regime fall, they gave different answers depending on who you were speaking to. It doesn't seem clear what their intention is. Many of them just said they wanted justice. They didn't say any kind of framework, or democracy wasn't a word that was bandied around.
All right, Jane. Well, thank you for that. We're going to leave it there. Are you intending to try and cover Syria again?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. All right. Well, good luck.
Thank you.